Hello, thank you for watching this video. I wanted to jump in here and do a little bit of a intro into the video so there's a little bit more explanation that goes along with it. I did this video for a promising up-and-coming young female falconer that is flying a micro, and she's a little bit concerned about possessiveness or carrying. So what you'll see in this video is I am calling my male imprinted. Now he's a hard imprint. He doesn't even understand that he's a bird. He thinks he's a bossy little person. So I'm calling him to the lure, and when I go in, I'm doing, falconry terms, it's called making in. And so when I'm picking him up off the lure, if you'll notice, he does mantle. However, he's not real possessive. He's not trying to run away from me. He's not trying to really hide the lure. He's mantling, but that's normal. That's what they do. There's not a bird on the planet that doesn't mantle. So he's doing his normal behavior. There's not any really possessiveness, or he's not trying to carry. However, that is a problem with especially micros, little birds, and especially if they're imprints. Now it can happen to any bird, whether they're micro or not, whether they're imprinted or not, but it seems to be especially so with small imprints. So I wanted to show how you can prevent that or possibly solve it if it's already an issue, and I have done both. With this bird, I started him from the very beginning. I'm the only one that's ever trained this bird, so I haven't had anybody else's input into his training routine. So he does not have a carrying or possessiveness problem. And so how I do that is when he is on the lure, he's tucked in, I let him calm down just a little bit before I start getting in there and bugging him a little bit, because you don't want to get in there and just really invade his bubble. And so you'll see in the video what I do is I put my, the line is out, I'll put my knee on it so they can't, take it away any farther if they do. I don't have to do that with him, but I showed that in the video. So if there is a bird that does try to carry it away, you can stop that. And then also what I do is I'll take little tidbits and I'll put it right in front of his face while he's on the lure, which it doesn't, maybe it doesn't make sense to somebody or some people. Why would you feed the bird if the bird's eating on the lure? Well, the theory and the concept behind it is, yeah, the bird's in there eating on the lure, and this particular, what I gave him was the top half of a mouse. It was kind of easy to get into because he just had to go in the bottom side. But with, some prey, they have to kind of really work at it, and even with that, he had to kind of work at it. So a little tidbit that is, just a swallow, and it's really easy for them to get to, they appreciate that, especially when they just want to get food in as quick as possible. So what you equal while they're on the lure is an easy tidbit snack, and you don't equal, I'm going to take your food away from you. So you kind of stop that line of thinking. And in the video, I don't know if you noticed, he is facing away from me. He is showing his back to me, which is normal. But if you have a bird that is just really in this, trance of possessiveness or really wanting to get away from you, by having your knee on the lure and not that bird not being able to move any farther, you can kind of put the tidbit in front of the bird's face and kind of maybe will snap them out of that, train of thought where they're like, oh, okay, easy meal, so they'll take the tidbit real quick. So I usually do that with Finley, even though he's not possessive, but I still kind of just reinforce that I don't equal, I'm going to take your food away from you. I equal some really easy, fast snacks while you're trying to tuck into your food. So I only do it, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Basically what I do is I just empty out my tidbit so I don't waste the food. So if I only have 1 tidbit, that's all he gets. Like I think in this video he had 4, so that's why he got 4, is just because that's what I had. So if you have a bird that you really need to reinforce it, maybe some more tidbits. So basically just give them enough tidbits to get your message across. So you don't want to just sit there and shove tidbits down their face to where the lure doesn't become important anymore, because you do want the lure to become important. So just give them enough tidbits to where you can just get the message across that you equal some easy snacks and not taking their food away. So just, use your judgment, and that's where the tidbits come in. Now, you also have to take the tidbits into account with your weight management. I'm not going to get into weight management. This is going to be covered in video that is, this is actually a very small, like 1 minute clip out of probably hours and hours and hours of videoing that's going to ultimately be a series that will help with weight management that will become available either through a webinar or some sort of tutorial. But this is just something that I pulled out just to illustrate what I was trying to get across for helping with possessiveness and potential carrying. So this as you can see, Finley doesn't have a carrying problem. That's because I have done this method with him since the beginning, and I have never, ever, ever, never robbed or taken food away from this bird. I have never lied or broken promises, and you're probably thinking, breaking promises, lying, how can you do that to a bird? What does that even mean? So just real short, weight management is just part of the reason why is just one tool in our tool belt for recall, goals or training methods. And we do weight management is just to gauge, it's just a gauge, a temperature gauge, a motivation gauge, however you want to talk about it, of where that bird's motivation is. And each bird is different. And each bird, even if they're the same species, even if they're the same species in the same, both are male or both are female, every bird is an individual, and each bird will need to be taken as an individual. There is no recipe, no cut and dry, cookie cutter. Well, if it's a male Harris hawk, then this bird should fly at XYZ. That bird should fly at whatever that bird flies at for that bird. No other bird on the planet. So you gauge your weight management and your training based on that individual, nothing else. So, okay, I'm going to get off that tangent because it really bugs me when I hear people saying, well, it's a male Harris hawk, it should be this, or it's a female Harris hawk, it should be that, or I'll get beginner falconers that ask, well, he's a male red tail. I've been flying him at this. It's like these arbitrary numbers. The numbers are just for you to have some sort of a gauge to tell you what. I'm going off a tangent again. Okay, I'm going to stop. But yeah, the weight management, it's just a number for you. And that's just, to translate their behavior into something that we can understand. There's so much more to that. So what I was going with is recall and training is a trust building. And if you lie, break promises, steal, rob, or whatever from your bird, then you're going to have trust issues. And part of the reason and part of the partnership with your bird is they want to come to you because they know that you equal food, you equal a better life, and they do that because they know you're going to feed them and they know that you're going to keep them safe. So, and the best way to do that is to not lie, break promises, or rob. And obviously, we know it, don't rob, don't ever take food away from your bird, no matter what. If you screw up and you give your bird too much food, that's your fault. So just deal with it. If you don't get to fly your bird the next day and you really, really wanted to, maybe you'll know a little bit better about, how much food you give your bird. Don't punish the bird and don't ruin your relationship because you didn't diligently give enough food or gave too much. Of course, obviously, you can still always add food. That's easier than taking it away. So, err on the side of light. You can always give them a little bit more food later. if you feel like they're too light. So, how you lie to your bird is, for me, when I do recall, I have one type of a whistle, and that equals, I promise that there's a tidbit on this glove. And when I whistle and they come, there is always, 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 always a tidbit. Now, there is intermittent reinforcement that you do with training, and that invokes the excitement of, ooh, there could possibly be a tidbit, and that sometimes is more of a reinforcement than the actual tidbit being there. But I do that in other ways. I want that guarantee that when I whistle, that bird, my bird, knows that they're gonna come and there's gonna be a tidbit. I can very rarely think of a time, I would say almost always. I would say maybe 95% of the time if I whistle, maybe even more. I have a hard time maybe 2 or 3 times a season, one of the birds, or at least each one of them, will not come. Maybe 2 or 3 times in the season. But if I whistle, all of them come, without a doubt. They all come, and that's because I've never lied to them. I've never whistled and not had a tidbit there. So if you whistle and there's not a tidbit there, and you do that a lot, that's the same thing as lying. So they're going to think, well, why would I come? There's never anything good there. So if if they choose to come to the glove and there's no tidbit, I didn't whistle, so it's really not a lie. It's just the anticipation was exciting. They wanted to see if there was a tidbit, so they chose to come. But when I want them there, and I don't whistle or call them unless I really want them to move or anything like that, but I'll offer the glove all the time. And if they take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. But they also don't get rewarded if they don't. So, and then with the lure, I use, you can hear it in the video, it's a long whistle with a hoe at the end. I only ever use it for a lure. That is a guaranteed jackpot to this bird. That means that when I do that whistle with a hoe at the end, that bird knows, whew, I'm going to get my meal, and I am for sure of it, because she has never lied to me, so here I come. I have had birds that will be in mid-flight going away from me and will do an absolute U-turn coming when I do that whistle. I've had my ferruginous hawk over here that was being attacked by a golden eagle, and I did that whistle, and she came like gangbusters, even while she was being attacked by a golden eagle, because I wanted her near me for obvious reasons. I don't think I've ever pulled that whistle and a bird hasn't come. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I've had, they always come because I've never lied to them. So, and this is part of that trust building, and the caring and the possessiveness is also part of that trust building. So if you are, near them while they're eating their precious meal that they just worked hard for, because in their mind they did, and then also in their mind they think that it's life or death. If they don't eat this meal, they may die. They don't, they don't understand that you'll feed them tomorrow. At least I hope you will. But they're hardwired for survival. So you can't put your reasoning and your thought processes onto them as as us. So you have to think of it from their point of view. So yeah. So it's the trust and the bond building. I build a trust relationship with my birds, and I guard it with everything I have, no matter what. I don't ever allow anything to break that. Now, do you screw up sometimes? Yeah. I have definitely screwed up, but I'm so consistent with other things that it's almost all the time. But maybe once a season I'll screw up with one of them. I'll whistle and not, the tidbit drops, or in their mind they think maybe I don't have the tidbit. But there's things like that. But as a golden rule, they know that I'm not going to lie or rob them. So I've never robbed Finley. I've never lied to him. I've never robbed or lied to any of my birds. So that's also why you don't see that. Now I have had to use the same technique and the same set of steps for a bird that did have the trust violated, and this was about 10 years ago, and this was a lesser kestrel that I had started for somebody else. It wasn't going to be my bird. He ended up being my bird after this incident. No, I'll take that back. It was after a different incident. But anyway, so the falconer that this bird was supposed to go to, did the lure. The bird, snatched the lure, and of course this has been 10 years ago, so I don't remember exactly what the story was. But the bird was, I don't know, messing around or wouldn't get on the glove and was just being really panicky, and I'm not sure what was going on. I don't really remember the details, but the point is this falconer wanted the bird on the glove, so that falconer picked up the bird and went like that. Well, that bird was never the same after that. That bird was, didn't trust, started carrying, was really possessive, real flaky, just was kind of a spaz. And so I used this method, and I was very diligent about not violating this bird's trust and not doing anything to make this bird think that I was going to take his food away. And I did this for about a month or two. I think it was about a month of a hardcore, diligent, every day doing things like this. And this was the foundation of what I was doing. And I would say probably in about a month or two, the bird was, ended up being okay. But, yeah, you violate that trust just once. Sometimes that can, be a relationship ender, and you don't want that with your bird. And, sometimes it can be dangerous if the bird carries off or whatever. But, so anyway, that is, I think, all I wanted to say about the intro. I wanted to jump in here because I don't say a whole lot during the video. And unless you understand what's going on, you may not understand what or why I'm doing it. So it doesn't really help if you don't understand what's going on or why I'm doing certain things. And so I wanted to explain that. Now, if you have any more questions after this, and you might, and I believe that if you go to, so if you have any more questions and you don't want to ask them in the comments, which I understand because falconers and other people can be brutal. So if you have questions, put them in the comments if you're not worried about that. If you do want some sort of, private conversation, or you have questions that you don't want to put out in the public, go to our channel, and our website is in there. I believe my email's in there, but if it's not, I'm pretty sure my email's in there. But if it's not, go to the website and you can have all the contact information you need. And I am very responsive to questions, so if you do have some questions or comments or whatever, go ahead and reach out. I will get back to you. So I hope this video was helpful. There is more coming in different subject matters, but this is while I was getting Finley ready for his 5th season, I went ahead and videoed everything, and it's basically going to be surrounded by weight management. And what's better to do that than with a micro, because you have to be pretty diligent with weight management with a micro. So anyway, stay tuned, and I hope this video was helpful. I'm going to call him to the lure. Oh. All right, good boy. Hopefully you can see this. Each knee here. Each knee on the lure line. He's already tucked in. It's mantling a little bit. Reach around. Here's a tidbit. There he goes. He's looking for it. He's calm. Not trying to run away. Here, you want a mouse foot? Yeah, there we go. And he's nice and tucked in. So I grab one of the wings. If I can find it under there. And get there. And you just pick him up with the lure. So this is what it looks like. You can see it. And then